What if the people who succeeded the most were also the ones most likely to feel like they hadn't? In a 1995 study, a team of psychologists analyzed broadcast footage from the 1992 Summer Olympics to find out. They were not interested only in who won. They studied the athletes' immediate reactions, including footage shown when athletes learned how they had finished, and their expressions on the medal stand. What they found did not match the obvious prediction. By podium rank, the silver medalist finished higher than the bronze medalist. Yet impartial raters repeatedly judged the bronze medalists to look happier. The study was published in 1995 in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, led by the psychologist Victoria Medvec along with Scott Maddy and Thomas Gilovich. Working from televised footage of the 1992 Summer Olympics, they found that bronze medalists, on average, look happier than silver medalists. That wording matters. The study showed how the athletes look to observers, not a direct measurement of every athlete's private emotional state. In the first study, 20 Cornell University undergraduates who described themselves as uninterested in and uninformed about sports rated the emotion expressed by the athletes. The immediate reaction tape included 23 silver medalists and 18 bronze medalists. The raters watched without sound, and graphics showing order of finish were covered. They used a 10-point scale running from agony to ecstasy. The difference appeared in both settings the researchers examined. For immediate reactions, bronze medalists received a mean happiness rating of 7.1, compared with 4.8 for silver medalists. On the medal stand, the corresponding means were 5.7 and 4.3. The researchers also removed events in which bronze medalists had just won a match while silver medalists had just lost one. The same basic medal effect remained. That does not prove every bronze medalist felt happier inside. It does establish a repeated and statistically significant difference in expressed satisfaction as judged by observers. The paper then tested the proposed explanation instead of leaving it as a story attached to faces. A second study examined post-competition interviews with 13 silver and 9 bronze medalists from the Olympics. A third asked 115 bronze and silver medalists at the 1994 Empire State Games about their own counterfactual thoughts. Across those studies, silver medalists focused more on the better result they had failed to achieve, while bronze medalists focused more on what they had achieved. The mechanism was therefore supported by interviews and athlete reports as well as by outside ratings of expressions. The explanation was not about the medal itself. It was about which alternative outcome became most compelling when the result was evaluated. A silver medalist can focus on one comparison. I almost won gold. A bronze medalist can focus on another. At least I won a medal. In the researcher's account, the most compelling alternative for silver was finishing first, while the most compelling alternative for bronze was finishing without a medal. The researchers did not claim that every medalist thought the same way. Across their studies, however, silver medalists focused more on what they had failed to achieve, while bronze medalists focused more on what they had achieved. Those counterfactuals pointed in opposite directions, and the direction tracked how satisfied the athletes appeared. This is worth sitting with, because it says something uncomfortable about achievement generally. Satisfaction after reaching a goal is not always a straightforward readout of rank. It can be shaped by the alternative used as a reference point. Two people can stand in neighboring positions, and the one who ranked higher can still look less satisfied because the available comparison points in a different direction. Psychologists use the term hedonic or negative life events shift mood. Those shifts often erode and happiness tends to move back toward an earlier baseline. The Olympic result is not itself evidence of adaptation, because no long passage of time was measured. It is an immediate counterfactual effect. The two ideas belong beside each other only with that distinction intact. One concerns how a feeling changes as an outcome becomes ordinary. The other concerns how a reference point can shape the first feeling before adaptation has even begun. You do not need an Olympic medal to recognize the structure. Get the promotion you wanted, and relief can be followed by a new comparison. The title above this one, the person who got promoted faster, the number that would have made it feel like enough. Launch the project, hit the number, publish the book, and attention can move quickly to the next alternative and start measuring the gap. This is not a flaw unique to ambitious people. It is one way ambition can keep itself alive after a goal has been reached. The simpler point does not need an evolutionary story. A result can be evaluated than where you began, worse than what you hoped for, and higher than many others achieved. Ambition can keep the upward standard closest at hand because that is the standard still asking something from you. The Olympic study shows the cost when that one comparison erases all the others. The silver medal remains silver. Gold has simply been placed next to it so quickly that the achievement can be experienced first as a shortfall. None of this is new information to people who spent their lives thinking about ambition without the benefit of a research lab. Marcus Aurelius became Roman emperor in the year 161 and sole emperor in 169. Continual attacks meant that much of his reign was spent on campaign, especially in Central Europe. The Meditations takes the form of a personal notebook written to himself for his own use. In one entry, in George Long's translation, he examined the specific ambition to be remembered after death. He wrote that a person with what he called a vehement desire for posthumous fame does not consider that every one of those who remember him will himself also die very soon. And after them, whoever remembers next will die too, on, until the whole chain of remembering has quietly gone out. Even in the impossible case where the memory itself never faded, he asks what that fact would actually be worth to the person no longer alive to receive it. Praise, stripped of the person it was supposedly for, is not worth very much. Notice what he is not saying. He is not saying that achievement is worthless, or that trying to do something well is a mistake. What he examines is narrower, the payoff a person expects from other people's future opinion, an opinion held by people who will themselves be gone and attached to a memory that may also disappear. He is doing, in a personal notebook, something adjacent to what the Olympic researchers did with a video archive many centuries later. He is asking where satisfaction is supposed to come from, and whether praise can hold the weight placed on it. Epicurus approached security from a different direction. Principal Doctrine 14, in Robert Drew Hicks's translation, reads, "When tolerable security against our fellow humans is attained, then on a basis of power sufficient to afford supports and of material prosperity arises in most genuine form the security of a quiet private life withdrawn from the multitude." The doctrine does not pretend that material support is irrelevant. It explicitly allows a sufficient basis of power and prosperity. But it places the most genuine form of security somewhere quieter, in a private life no longer exposed to the multitude. The distinction matters for ambition. A climb may secure the material support it was meant to provide. If the climbing continues after enough support exists, however, the strategy can drift away from the quiet security that originally made the effort seem necessary. Stoic philosophy has a specific term for external advantages such as health, wealth, and good reputation. Preferred indifference. Preferred, because reason will usually select them over sickness, poverty, and low repute. Indifferent, because possessing them does not by itself make a life good. In Stoic terms, virtue lies in how such things are selected and used. A medal fits the category as an external advantage. Whether its pursuit expressed wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation belongs to the ethical evaluation in a way podium rank alone does not. Put the two philosophers next to the psychology study and a shape starts to emerge. Achievement itself is not the problem. The trouble starts one step later, when the meaning of an achievement is placed outside the work itself, in how the result compares with an outcome that did not happen, in whether strangers remember you after death, or in whether continued visibility can provide a security Epicurus ultimately located in a quiet private life. This is not a call to stop trying. The study does not show that training was a mistake. The Marcus passage does not say all achievement is worthless, and Epicurus's doctrine explicitly preserves the value of sufficient material support. Each source draws a line between the work and the burden placed on its reward. What changes, once you notice the pattern, is quieter than that. It is the question you ask after you get the thing you wanted. Not what does everyone else think of this, or what does this look like compared to the version I almost had. A narrower question. Is this actually what I wanted? On its own terms, independent of the comparison sitting next to it. The bronze medalist who smiled on the podium was not misreading the result. That athlete had won an Olympic medal. The silver medalist had ranked one place higher, yet could appear less satisfied because attention had already moved toward the goal that did not happen. Both results were real. The counterfactual helped shape which part of reality occupied the foreground. That gap between standing somewhere and actually inhabiting it is not a small distinction. It is the distance between achievement and the peace people assume achievement will deliver. The Olympic researchers measured expressed satisfaction in immediate reactions and on a medal stand. Marcus Aurelius examined posthumous praise in a personal notebook. Epicurus distinguished material support from the quiet private life in which security takes its most genuine form. 3 different instruments pointed at the burden people place on outcomes. None of this evidence requires you to stop training, building, or wanting things done well. It suggests a redirection of where the payoff is expected to come from once the effort is finished. Not only from the number, the title, the podium position, or the version of the outcome that almost happened instead. Also from the choices and conduct that made the work yours while it was happening. If any of this sounds familiar, from a comparison you have made about your own life recently, the comments are open. The next video turns to a subject every one of these traditions, sooner or later, has to face directly.